So in this video, we will continue our discussion on the constructors. Just to recap what we did, in the employee class, we created a default constructor, and in the constructor, we are setting the ID value to a static value 234. Then in the main class, we are creating the new object of employee, and we are simply printing the ID on the console. So on the console, we see the message that is in the constructor and the ID value 234. So let's move on. Let's create a new object that will also use the default constructor, and let's access the ID attribute of that object. Now if we run the program, so we see the constructor uh, was called twice. And this is because in Java, each object is different. Because each object is different, so the JVM will call the constructor for each and every object. That's why we see the constructor was called twice. And because the ID has a static value, something hard coded 234, and that's why we see the same value for both the objects, because we are actually setting the ID property in the constructor with a hard-coded value. So each object would have its own value, but that value is same. So can we fix it? For that purpose, we can use a parameterized constructor. How do we write a parameterized constructor? So we use the access modifier, then the name of the class, because this is the condition with constructor, right? The name must be an exact match, so it must be employee, but the difference would be in the signature. This time we are saying that we are accepting an integer argument which is same as the method, but again we need to remember that constructors are not methods. And now we can do something with the passed value. We can set the ID property to whatever value that has been passed to the constructor, and let's put a message here: value configured is passed ID. So we are trying to use this constructor to make the ID field dynamic. Now, how do we use the parameterized constructor? Let's create a new object, emp equals to new employee. This is fine because this will call the default constructor, but now we need to call the parameterized one. To do that, we simply pass the matching argument. So this is accepting the integer a parameter, so we can pass any integer value. Let's pass 456, and let's print the ID of this object. So we see the constructor this time. JVM called the parameterized constructor because we see this message on the console, value configured 456, and now we see the ID 456, the value that we passed. Another important thing is that it is now clear that we can write multiple constructors in a class. A class can have more than one constructors as long as their signature is different, because the access modifier will always be same. It may differ depending on the use case. Name must be exactly same. So to avoid the conflict, the signature must be different. So that's how we use the parameterized constructor, and that's how we write multiple constructors in the same class. In the next video, we will talk about the constructor overloading. That's it for now. Thank you.